How often is it that people realize that it is unexpected circumstances and situations that can lead to bigger and greater things or have a bigger impact on circumstances and situations and people when they weren't even expected, but when they responded to the situation? 60 years ago today, December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks got onto a public transit bus there in Montgomery, Alabama, after a long day of work. And she went and took a seat in the front of the black section of a city bus, of that bus. And it's not that she sat in the white section because she'd had enough of the segregation, and so she was trying to make a stand. She actually had no intention of making a stand about segregation and those type of things. She did what she did many other days previous. After work, got onto the city bus, sat down in the black section, and was going to rest as she was going home. Well, it happened to be that day that the white section filled up, and there was a law in Alabama at that time that stated when the white section filled up, that whites could then go into the black section and require those individuals to get up and give up seats. And so it was that day when the bus was full, no seats left in the white section, that the bus driver demanded that uh, Rosa give up her seat so a white male passenger could have her seat. And that's at the point where she had had enough, and she made her stand, even though she had no intention of making that stand. And that led to her being arrested and to being found guilty of disorderly conduct. But it also started a boycott of the city public transportation system, and eventually ended in a Supreme Court ruling in 1956 outlawing segregated busing and public transit. And so I'm sure Rosa had no intention, had no idea that her response to a situation that maybe she had even experienced before, probably had,
Message from Mary Jo Laws.
that she was done with it. So it went from a very little thing to something very large. And Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King got involved as well as a pastor, and so it led to many more things in the civil rights push. What about us? How often do we want to have an impact? How often do we want to make a difference? Yet we don't let things develop. We don't allow things to begin. We want to have them starting large and then go larger. As Christians, we need to be looking at those circumstances, those situations in life that we encounter on a regular basis, and use them to share God's love with those people, with people around us. Maybe it's in a word said, maybe it's in an act of kindness, demonstrating God's goodness. And maybe it won't go anywhere, but there are times where doing it in a little way can lead to bigger and greater things. That's what happened in the book of Acts when the uh, the disciples, the followers of Christ, had been primarily in Jerusalem, and then the persecution really happened through Saul, who became the Apostle Paul. And because of that persecution, the writer Luke tells us that they scattered, they fled from Jerusalem in order to escape the persecution, because people were being arrested and thrown in jail because they were Christians, followers of Christ. And what we are told is that as they went, they shared Christ. They shared what had happened, the gospel, the good news, as they went. something that was just natural for them to do. It was a small thing, and yet God used it to do incredible things. It's the same way again for us as Christians, as followers of Christ here in the 21st century. Wherever we go, if we have the mindset that we want to share Christ, that we want to share the goodness of God, His love, His mercy, His empowering presence with people, then we should do that no matter where we find ourselves and in a way that resonates with people. Because who knows what might happen? Who knows what person needs to be touched in just a certain way or needs to hear that kind word or experience that kind act, experience that love in that particular way. Maybe the reason why God has you connected with that person at that particular moment in that particular circumstance is just for that reason. So God can do an act in and for that person. So never look at anything as too small. Never look at any situation as insignificant. Because even something very small can lead to incredible things. Things you never realize could come to fruition.